Did CG actually do good? I think CG did good. Welcome back, Holotable Heroes, to another Galaxy of Heroes video. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the latest road ahead and all the changes involved and what that means for us and the future. On the whole, I am actually very impressed with this road ahead. It's probably one of the better ones that we've received in a long time. But more importantly, I think there are a couple of nuances here that we really need to have a think about. Let's dive right in. I know I'm a little bit late to the uptake here, and I apologise for that. Life has been very busy, but your boy Scribble is getting to it. So only recently did Crumb go to the forums and release the latest road ahead, which I think surprised a lot of people with its content. Some of it we knew, some of it there were leaks coming that this is where we were going to be heading. However, I was not expecting such drastic changes to the way that raids work. I was expecting a new raid, but not quite in this way. Anyway, let's get a high-level view of what is actually occurring here. Apparently, we are getting new additions to the Tusken tribes with the introduction of the Tusken Chieftain and the Tusken Warrior, the kits for which we have only received one so far, but it looks to be very strong. We're getting some additional UI changes, a new hero's journey in Cal Kestis, and a brand new raid, which a lot of people were theorizing that we wouldn't get for some time, simply because they've said in the past that they don't like the way that raids work, they take too much time to make, and they are beaten far too quickly. What they've said with this current raid, the new Krayt Dragon raid, is that they have changed the formula and they've now restricted factions, and that's going to make it a lot easier for them to push out new raid content at a faster pace. There is so much for us to break down here. Alright, so first and foremost, we are getting 2 brand new Tuskens, and they are going to form a team of 5 for the Tusken faction. This Tusken faction is highly tuned to work effectively in the new Krayt Dragon raid, and it seems as if these 2 characters that are being released are in fact going to be marquees, with the Tusken Chieftain marquee going live in just a couple of hours. Very interesting. Not only that, this Tusken Chieftain does have direct synergy in 3v3 GACs with Boba Fett, Scion of Django, with his Omicron abilities. Now, that does mean you'll be able to separate 2 Tusken teams. One will most likely be dealing with the Tusken Chieftain, Tusken Warrior, and Boba Fett, and the other dealing with Tusken Raider, Tusken Shaman, and I have it on good authority that's how the name is pronounced. Come at me. Moving swiftly on. So, I'm not going to go over the kit of the Tusken Chieftain, but suffice it to say it is probably highly tuned towards defeating the Krayt Dragon raid, or at least scoring very well there. Not only that, we haven't had the kit yet for the Tusken Warrior, which I assume we will get in a week or 2 afterwards. Okay, moving on. So the Krayt Dragon raid. This is the really big one, ladies and gentlemen. This is the really big one. The Krayt Dragon is a fabled beast within the Star Wars universe, native on Tatooine, and has featured in much multimedia across all of Star Wars franchises. I've played against it in various games. We've read about them. We've seen them in the Mandalorian Season 2, I believe, with the Tuskens and our boy Mando go ahead and take down one of these Krayt Dragon raids, and they get the Krayt Dragon Pearl, which was amazing. So yeah, it's going to be a cool battle. However, there are some stipulations towards this raid that are now unique changes coming to the way that raids work. Previously, it was a 4-phase event where you just go in with all your teams. Perhaps there might be a gear limit, perhaps that there might be some restrictions involved, but you just go in and you try and deal as much damage as possible. When you kill the raid, game over, and rewards are based on how well you rank in the guild, how well you scored compared to other players. That is basically all gone, ladies and gentlemen. They are completely changing the way that raids are working. The biggest change, or one of the biggest changes, is that in this new raid, it is only accessible to a limited number of factions. You can see there are only 5 factions that can even enter this raid. I'm sure it's a coincidence that many of these factions are factions that a lot of people have not got geared up, i.e. the Tuskens and the Jawas. Now, we can use Mandalorian and Old Republic and Hutt Cartel. Hutt Cartel, I imagine a lot of people will have geared up with the Wake of Jabba. You know, that makes total sense to me. Mandalorian faction, yes, there's going to be people that have had investments in there. However, without being able to use what there, it might be a little bit difficult, and we might need to have an increased level of investment in the Mandalorians to really get the most out of that faction. Old Republic, of course, there are plenty of people that have got investment in Old Republic, mostly for Jedi Knight Revan, but if we're thinking about the others, we're talking about Karth, we're talking about the likes of Mission and Zalbar, we're talking about Juhani. Yes, there are some investments there, but it's not massively done. I get the feeling, however, that the most valuable teams that are going to be taking in here are going to be Tuskens and Hutt Cartel and Jawas. Those, I feel, will be pivotal to making this raid work well. Never before have they restricted a raid to factions, and on the whole, in my opinion, it is not a terrible thing. If this means we can get newer raids at a faster pace, changing up the game and introducing new raids that are interesting and nuanced, I'm actually okay with it. However, my main concern is about the way they're changing the reward system for this new raid. Now, I want to give CG the benefit of the doubt here because they have introduced a lot of good things when it comes to the raid changes here. For one, you are no longer going to have to worry about constantly farming raids on repeat and trying to balance the rewards across the guild. No longer do you have to worry about being in a guild where you are asleep for when the raid finishes and you're unable to post a score, or you cannot get in early enough and you can't get the top end rewards. The reward system is almost entirely flattened now. Everybody is getting the same rewards in one sense. They're splitting the reward system into two different reward tracks now. So essentially there is going to be one reward track for how well your guild performs in the raid, and everybody within your guild will receive the same benefits from that. So there's no competition there. And there is a separate individual track that is based on your own personal performance. So the better that you do, the better the rewards that you get personally. That will not come into play. It will not be against or antagonistic against anybody else in the guild. The better you do, the better the rewards for you, the better the rewards for everyone. I love this new reward system, and I feel like it should have been this way the whole time. I didn't think of a personal track, but really I feel like guild raids are a guild event. You should all be pulling together much in the same way as in TB. Everybody gets the same rewards. It should have always been the same for raids as well. With that being said, one of the big changes is now you are only able to run one type of raid. The guild will select which raid you are doing based on what you feel is most appropriate for your guild, and I imagine most guilds are just going to try and do the most recent raid that they possibly can out of the Rancor raid, the Tank raid, the Sith raid, and this new Krayt Dragon raid when it does eventually come out. Based on how strong your guild is, they might say, oh, maybe we're just going to stick with the Heroic Sith, for example, as the Rancor raid is now being removed. The challenge tier Rancor raid is completely removed. Does beg the question, where are we going to get the R8 mats from? But I'm assuming they're going to be rolled up into one. So, with this new method of only being able to run one raid at a time, you have to think about how are they going to balance the distribution of rewards that we would normally be getting. Running raids is one of the most important ways of generating gear for characters and for your guild as a whole, right? You get a lot of guild activity tokens. You get shards for characters like Traya, like GK, like Han Solo. That becomes shard shop currency. You turn that shard shop currency into additional gear. You get Zeta mats, you get credits, you get gear drops, Gear 12, Chirotech, all sorts come from raids. And they're saying that these are now going to be rebalanced for this new raid setup. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt is what I'm saying. However, until we see in reality what that means, we are going to have to be very careful and hold CG accountable, because this is really one of the biggest ways to generate gear in the entire game. And if it really is punitive to us now, and we're taking a step back from all the progress that we've done with State of the Galaxy, then it is something to be concerned about. For now, however, let's leave this as a positive thing, and we'll see what comes out of it once it's actually been announced and how the rewards go and how this feeds into our own performance individually and as a guild. Other really fantastic changes that they're making to the raiding scene, and again, this is something that should have been in raiding from the get-go. You can now choose whether or not you want to submit your score. So if you go in and you I don't know, let's say you accidentally die like you could in the Crankle when you're trying to build up a good run with JMK and Cat, for example, in Phase 1. You don't quite hit the timing right, and you die and you're not playing airplane mode. Now you can say, it'll ask you, do you wish to submit the score, yes or no? You could go no, back out, and you get your team back, and you can try it again. And because of the way the system works now, it is no longer a case of, once the raid is beaten, it ends. It is a case of it stays open for that 24-hour period, and the raid will end once that period is over, essentially. So now you're not going to miss anything. You've got all the time in the world to take these raids at your own pace. Fantastic new change to the way that raids work. I am really excited about this. It's going to give us all the opportunities we want to play test things, to see, to theory test how to actually get better teams, how to actually go in, what works, what doesn't work. I think this is fantastic because we no longer have to worry about a ticking clock of 15 minutes before someone solos the raid. This is really good. Essentially, what we're going to be going in is every team that you use has got one attempt. If you choose not to lock in that attempt, you can use it again. But essentially, you can try that as many times as you want, and that's fabulous. And that there, based on how well you do in that attempt, will dictate how good your score is, and then ultimately how many points that you earn for your raid rewards, both on an individual level and on a guild level. So it really encourages the opportunity for you to go in there to test and find good RNG, find good modding setups, and go in there and score the highest points you possibly can without worrying about the raid either finishing or you accidentally submitting a poor score. You'll be able to do this for every team valid for the raid. So for the Krayt Dragon raid, you can go in with your Old Republic team, then you can go in with your Tuskens, then your Jawas, then your Hut Cartel, and then your Mandos, or I think that's all the teams. Once you've locked in a score for each of those, depending on how well you do, that will be your raid completed, and you have to wait until the end of the period to get your payout. I really do prefer this setup. I think it is much, much better. Following off the back of that, it is also important to note that you also will earn rewards from raids even if you do not beat the raid. The way I'm visualizing this right now is very, very similar to the Conquest reward track. You know how you've got your battle pass on the top and you've got the free pass on the bottom, and as you collect your key cards, you unlock different nodes with different rewards. Boom, boom, boom. I'll collect those shards. I'll collect those modifiers, whatever you particularly happen to unlock at the time. I think that's exactly how this raid reward system is going to go. On the top, you'll have your individual track. On the bottom, you'll have your guild track. As you score points within this raid, you will unlock that reward node and you'll be able to just claim it. Claim your individual rewards, claim your guild rewards, and I think that is fantastic. Don't even have to beat the raid. So really, you can go in and you can go for the difficulty that gives you the best points, even if you can't necessarily complete the raid. I'm going to cycle back to it very, very quickly, but we need to make sure that this still adequately rewards players based on the loss of 3 to 4 other raids that they could potentially have done in the old system. I'm hoping that this is not going to be punishing us. I'm hoping it's still going to give us plenty of relic 8 mats. I'm hoping for the newer players, they'll still be able to earn all the shards for those unlocks, for your Treyas, for your GK, for your raid Han, and it does not punish you unnecessarily so. That being said, kind of hoping we get a new raid character. We didn't get one with Rancor. I'd like to see us getting a brand new character coming out of the Krayt Dragon raid. What that character is, I'm not sure. Maybe it can be someone like Cobb Vanth. That would be super cool. But we don't know yet. So I really want to save judgment until we see what this reward track looks like. There is also going to be a brand new currency. CG's second favorite thing in the world is introducing new currencies for us to farm things for. They are not saying what we actually can spend this currency on, this new raid currency, but it only drops from whatever is the featured raid. That means right now it's going to be the Krayt Dragon raid. Once that comes out, once a new raid comes after the Krayt Dragon raid, that new raid currency will only be found in the new raid. This is a way of essentially them incentivizing the latest content, incentivizing you to gear up the latest and greatest characters. So, you know, get your Tuskens, get your Jawas, and then they'll throw something else like get your Lobot faction, your Ugnaught, get your I don't know, something that's below standard. And I'm okay with that. I'd love to see what we're going to get from this new currency, but I think it's going to take some time. I do not envisage this Krayt Dragon raid to be coming out anytime soon. I'm expecting at least half year, most likely end of the year, but I'm willing to be proven wrong. The difficulty on these new raids was also entirely modular, so you can go in and ramp the difficulty slowly and introduce additional modifiers to increase that base difficulty so that we can find the sweet spot for where we are as a guild. And that can work across individually. It doesn't have to be the whole guild sets this difficulty for the raid. It's going to be a case of every individual player can set their difficulty. The points they earn are going to be multiplied essentially by the difficulty of the raid. The harder it is, the more points you'll earn, but obviously the more difficult it is to actually get a good result. I like this as well. It gives a lot of autonomy to players to sort of go in with whatever they're comfortable with. If somebody is not particularly that keen on the raid and they just want to go in there and score some damage, maybe they go in at an easier difficulty tier just to go in and post some scores. Those of us that really like to theorycraft and push the game a little bit further are going to go for those higher tracks and try to really get the most out of their rosters and the best rewards they possibly can. So moving on from the Krayt Dragon raid then and the raid changes, we have got the new hero's journey for Cal Kestis. Now Cal is coming with Seer and also Merrin. Merrin is going to be a Night Sister faction obviously, and is going to be lifting that faction to hitherto unforetold heights, which is actually huge. It might actually help make that Secrets and Shadows TB a lot more manageable. Hopefully it does, because that is long overdue. Cal Kestis and Seer are both unaligned force users and supposedly work incredibly well in the new TB. Cal having triple TB Omicrons. Don't know what to feel about that, but it also does hearken the announcement that we are going to be getting a brand new planet, brand new special missions or combat missions within the TB already with the release of Cal Kestis. We don't know what the unlock requirements are. All we know is that these 3 characters are going to be released, and it does say here that we are going to get several other characters from this game series. So keep an eye out for them. They're most likely going to be marquees, legendary characters. You can usually expect there to be 4 to 5 characters that are going to be released. So again, don't expect it to come out immediately. Out of everything released here, we know that the Tuskens are coming out, so give them some time to release. Then we're probably going to have a couple of these marquees. 4 or 5 marquees is what I would assume. And then 2 to 3 months later, I imagine we'll get the release, unless this particular legendary event is going to be similar to the Starkiller and Dr. Aphra events, in which they become available immediately as the units come out. Apologies, they do say right here, 5 new characters from the Jedi Fallen Order universe are being released. So we do know Cal is one of them, we know that Merrin is one of them, and Seer is another one of them. Overall, I think this is a fantastic road ahead, ladies and gentlemen. I think they've done a really good job of plotting out the future and getting us excited for once. I think last year was a bit of a slow year for Galaxy of Heroes. Truth be told, the TB coming out near the end of it really did spice things up a bit. But overall, this road ahead has got me very excited. I want to know your thoughts. Please let me know in the description down below. Please consider liking and subscribing to me, so that I can continue to put out wonderful content for you beautiful people at home. And until the next video, ladies and gentlemen of the Holotables, peace out.